first?
Well, you're sitting there, so I assume so.
Okay.
I thought you'd be in Nashville.
I did too. I would like to be by 8:20 though. That's nice.
Got the jet all fired up outside.
I don't know where you wanna start. I guess my page is start on page 37. What do we, I don't know what you guys, do you have the book? Starting on page 37. Nothing there. We get to, you can see we added an assistant public works director position. It's picked up somewhere on the back. What do you call that section?
The ARP section?
The ARP section.
Jeff, was this your request?
It was something we talked about with the mayor. The idea is that obviously somewhere down the road I'll be retiring here in the next year to 3 years, whatever. I haven't really picked a date.
Okay, so
Ideal-
the normal practice was that once you found a date, what we did with Joe and Ryan in the past is Joe announced his date and then they put someone in knowing that your date was imminent. So you don't have a date.
And I'm
at
not
this
really
point?
opposed to that. I think this is more of a placeholder to maybe get some discussion talking about it. But like I said, I don't see me leaving during the next budget year. Sometime shortly thereafter possibly.
Yeah, but things could change. I realize you could go tomorrow if
Exactly,
something happened,
exactly.
or you could go
One bad day
10
away.
years from now.
One bad day.
So,
Get that camera out. No, so that's where we're at with that.
okay.
Trying to see what else we got here. I guess that's it on that. The only one I don't question it, we're not really sure, and I'm not, Ryan and I have talked about this is a natural gas, City Hall building, it'll be the next page, page 39. Only because we're not sure with this new system we just put in place, could be a lot lower for all we know. I'm just flagging that. If you go to page 40, maintenance mechanic 2, which is something we've talked about. Did that get kept in or taken out?
It's not in the operating budget, but
It's
it's
in
in
the, okay. I marked this all up, then I found out there was another section of the budget that I wasn't aware of. I highly recommend that position. It's something I think will save us money and some overtime, give us a training for a potential backup for Todd here in the future. Todd's nearing the end of his career as well. On the building here. Central garage on page 42. Again, I just flagged the natural gas price there. Same situation, we have a new heating system. I hope we put enough into that.
I just had a quick question on that. I'm sure many people have heard this, that they're talking about the natural gas prices rising in upwards of over 40% this year. I'm just concerned that these numbers with natural gas is way off on all of these lines.
Again, Jeff, just another variable that we're not sure,
Sure.
you know, which is kind of why in my mind, I'd rather put a little more in there just in case. I'm not gonna spend it, obviously, you know, we don't have to.
Can we go back to City Hall building?
To what, Tim?
City Hall building,
Okay.
Ryan, in the year-to-date totals, it's not broken out for overtime, and I know this is your justification along with the pending retirement of Todd. Can you please provide detail into his base stat? I mean, we're not way out of line on expenditures in the budget, So can you please provide details of his overtime?
Yeah, no problem.
And that's something that, Ryan, I'll tell you, we've been really trying to put the clamps down on, but there's just so much going on in this building all the time that.
Well, it's not always his fault.
No, right, right.
But I,
That's what I'm saying, it's not really anybody's fault.
I wanna see the justification between,
Yep.
you're saying it will save money by adding a maintenance mechanic
Okay.
versus his overtime.
Quickly here. Try to go quickly. Okay.
Jeff, can I ask a question going backwards? So the Assistant Public Works Director request was 85,000. Is that position also going to have the requirement of an engineering, like civil engineer?
Well, we haven't really flushed those details out, but I would assume if you're looking at putting that person into my job, you'd want the special engineer.
Right, professional. I was curious as to the salary. That's a pretty nice starting salary.
Right now, there's not anybody really in a position to step up internally. Primarily because of living in the city requirement. But not that that couldn't change, but, so we're looking at having to look outside.
And Tony, I will add that actually in the position that was funded with the ARP funds, we only have a $75,000 starting salary for that position.
Is that what you proved it at?
Can we clarify that in the position that was presented? Because nothing's been funded yet, I want to make that clear, that's a discussion I've had multiple times out in the public. Like, is this a done deal, or is this still up for discussion?
Right, still has to be approved, correct.
Page 70, maintenance of streets. See, we've eliminated, or mayor's eliminated the equipment rental line, which historically is, we've got $3,000 in there, and historically, if you go back a few years, we've been up into 10,000 in the past. So, item of concern.
Ryan, I'm not showing anything spent year to date, is that right?
Correct.
Go to page 72, which is our maintenance of streets. Employees. This budget pulls out, it doesn't pull out, but it took out our summer help, puts it back in as summer help, but it's coming out of the CHIPS money, which is something we tried this year, because we didn't budget any money. I'm just afraid now you're gonna pick away that CHIPS money, and if this starts to happen, it'll never change. You know what I mean? And that could be 2 streets right there that aren't gonna get done in the future by doing this. So in my opinion, it's just a concern I have.
Ryan, can you break out the amount of money you budgeted out of the CHIPS for summer employment?
Yeah,
You had 50,000 in there, right?
yes.
And again, we did the same, well, I guess not, with the parks, I don't wanna jump ahead here, but we did the same thing with parks on health. So it's budgeted, but it's coming out of
Oh, it's in the operating budget.
I thought that's coming out of the TR money.
Coming out of what?
Could you repeat where it's coming out of?
From Sean, this comes out of the other attachment.
It's just because, no, the part-time salaries are not in the budget, right? There's no visibility to them. So that's why Jeff was confused on whether or not it was actually in the operating budget. But the parks do have summer positions in the operating budget.
This is a problem I have with this entire budget. It's not transparent, and it's not visible. And I trying to find stuff. And I'm experienced with budgets, I can't imagine how some of these people get. It's terrible.
Thank you.
It's not your fault, I'm not blaming you 100%, but you're expecting us to make multi-million-dollar decisions with ARPA and with all this stuff, and I gotta bug you a million times for information. That's not fair to us, that's not fair to you, and that's not fair to the public.
And then I guess the only other things are the capital budget. It's page 170. And I kind of feel like the kid at Christmas who gets a bunch of toys that I'm still on board. There's a lot of equipment in there that has to come up here. They got the hand, they got a complete list.
I believe so, so this is what we,
That's everything.
yeah, this is just current
Everything.
requested here.
Okay. There's a considerable amount of equipment in here, but there's not that much equipment in here, in my opinion. This is a one-time shot where we're getting a considerable amount of money, and I think we should be trying to pick up some of this equipment, try to catch up. Tony will tell you, Marie will tell you, we've been playing from behind the eight ball for quite some time. And it's just, like, again, there's our one chance that we might be able to catch them. We haven't replaced sidewalk plows. Who the heck are they in here? Yeah, we have two 1979 Bombardier sidewalk plows. 1979. I was still in high school. You know, I mean,
And I'm gonna point out that some of our frontline plow trucks are better than halfway through their life cycles currently. We've already taken one out of service as of recently because the frame cracked on it. That is just the start, so it's just something that we gotta continue to keep our eyes on and watch.
and again, there are trucks in here, but I think we need a bigger bite at that apple, in my opinion.
To
I'd
your
be remiss
point,
if I didn't tell you that.
I think a number of council members have discussed this among themselves, that this is a one, as you said, I sat through a number of budgets where we were deleting requests for typical equipment that you need to operate. And it's not just your department, it was fire trucks that we did not fund because you didn't have money to balance the budget. I agree with you, Jeff, that this needs to go for infrastructure, capital improvements, and things that we will not need to bond for in the future if we can pay for them now. So I think we have a number of council members who agree with your statements.
Jeff, about years, how many do we have? Two that are working?
That we ordered?
No, how many are working?
How many are
Last year,
working?
we have
Three.
five. The three are working? Okay, last year there was at least one that was out of commission.
They're working, and they're,
They're working,
For all the more than, yeah.
for now. Okay. Well, that was a point of discussion last year.
I don't know if you want to add anything else on equipment.
And I think for the most part, you covered it. I know that one of the things I'm concerned about right now is just for your department is the trucks. And that's, because they're expensive and
Now, the other thing we should talk about with the trucks is, even if we, we ordered them January 1st, we're probably not gonna see them till.
many of the vendors are telling me that they're at least 2 years out, and that gets longer each day that passes, unfortunately.
Is
Or
that,
like we talked about, the truck we just bought last month, we were lucky to get that. We were in kind of a crisis mode.
is that because of the chip shortage too, or because so much technology is?
Yeah, it's chips and it's other components as well. They're starting to have problems with everything now.
Anything fine for
So if you were to replace, say, 2 plow trucks, I'm assuming you would take the 2 oldest ones?
Yeah, at this point, it'll probably end up being like the 1997 and the 1996.
Right now, there are 4 trucks shown as being replaced,
Correct.
which isn't a bad thing. Just, I don't know. We're still gonna be behind the eight ball, even with 4 trucks is all I'm gonna tell you. Pat will tell you, he deals with them daily. And some of the smaller trucks.
Oh, yeah, even the smaller ones too, absolutely. They're just as crucial in other ways.
Some of the other things that didn't get funded that, I think we should at least be thinking about is the roof repairs on city buildings, which would be on page 172. I put $400,000 in there. We kind of double dipped because the chief put in money for Station 4, which I did also. What we did last time when we budgeted, or when we put money in a capital, we did a roof, citywide roofing line item. It was kind of nice because it allowed us to pick off roofs as they started to come up and become problematic. I think that's an area that we need to fund at some level. And it's got a roof on the Parks Department, we've got money we're gonna need to be spending there. I didn't break those out specifically, but we know it's coming. He had his guys up patching the roof today.
Yeah, yesterday we came in with all the rain yesterday morning, and it was like we had a lake going right through the center of our garage. So it's our work garage, and as most of you know, it's the old bus garage for the city, so it's basically got 3 seams that run through it. And even the work we've done in the last 8-10 years there, now we're starting to get leaks on the main seams. So then you're looking at involving electrical issues and heating system issues and things like that.
That's just 2 that are current right now, need to be done.
While you're talking about that, the entrance off of Pendergast, coming to City Hall, there's been a leak there probably for as long
Yeah,
as.
that's not a roofing leak, that leak is coming in through the part of the deck that hasn't been replaced yet.
Okay.
It
Is
comes
there-
down and then works its way over and comes
Okay.
down through.
Okay.
But yeah, we are aware of that. The chief brought that to our attention again this morning.
Well, when I come into that side entrance, I mean, that's been leaking for at least as long as I can remember being on council.
And
And
the only reason I'm not screaming about that project is we're trying to get grant money for that. It's something we've trying to work with the state on.
And I have one other question about the City Hall air quality improvements. That's in the budget but not funded. Given the issues with COVID and that this ARP money is supposed to be used for some of those things, what was the plan with that? And why is that removed? Because I know the air quality and circulation in this building has never been ideal. And that probably is a prime reason for having ARP funds to do things like that.
I don't disagree, that's why I put it in there. There's a couple of those, the traffic control signal equipment, is $35,000 on page 171. Again, we have issues with traffic control devices. And we're in here every month talking about crosswalks and, safety. Grandstand structural repairs, Dietrich Park, I put in for $300,000 for that. And that project's been out there for a number of years. It's getting worse every year as the water gets behind the brick and gets into the grandstand. It's something I think warrants attention as well. And I can go down through all these and tell you why they're all good ideas, but those are just some of the ones in my own opinion I think should be focused on. They wouldn't be on this list if we didn't think they were, deserved some attention. That's all I got, Dan. I don't know if you want to jump in on the parks?
Going off of the book, back on page, let's see here, well, Jeff's jumping around, I lost my position there.
I think it's 78, page 78.
79, you'll see that it's got the list of our titles and positions in the Parks Department. And I requested 3 new laborers in the department. As most of you know and have heard over the years, we can't even come close to catching up or keeping up with the work that we have going on. The addition of the Riverwalk and the bike trail are fantastic. And our department can build anything. Any playground you give us, any building, any trail, maintaining them's the hardest part to do. So those 2 entities together basically become their own park. And because of that, they're not getting the attention that I feel we should have. I don't wanna sacrifice quality of what we have here in the city for quantity of work. So that would ease the burden a little bit there. And then Bergman Park is our biggest, probably most used park. And I've never understood since my time, almost 20 years now in the Parks Department, why we don't have 2 full-time guys at that park all the time. Especially if we're looking to add some amenities to that, which I'll talk about in a minute. That's an increased workload and demand. It's great, we get 2 summer help kids up there to help out and cut the grass, but that's from May till middle August. And then the rest is on 1 full-time guy. So that's quite a bit of work there. And then just everything else that we do with the plowing, the trees, the cutting grass alone. With what we've taken on with the DOD properties over the last 8 years, I think we need to do more, right? We haven't been able to cut one of those properties in 2 months now. So, you see that driving around town. So, we just don't have the manpower to keep up with what we have going on. Any questions with that? I believe the next page. I had it there, Ryan, with the summer help.
Page 78.
Okay, so I'll go back to 78. Okay, so we're looking at reinstilling our summer workforce, which, as you know, is college students that come and work with us. This year, we were, again, like last year, short on help, a little bit more this year. But we fell 4 short of what we normally carried in the past. And then we're also looking at reinstilling our summer playground program as well, which I think is well needed. We're gonna downsize that, looking at having it at 4 parks for next summer. And hopefully have a couple college kids at each one, and then 1 to oversee that program as well. So if we go up to, we'll go right to equipment, since that's been a topic. Right now, we're looking at proposing to replace one of our dump trucks, number 206, which is actually, we use as our water truck. Whether we're planting trees or flowers, doing all the water for the flowers downtown and through the other parks. The condition of that truck is so bad that we haven't let anybody drive it since July. There's no way we were gonna be able to put a water tank on the back of that with 200 or 300 gallons of water and be able to drive that through the city. So that one's pretty much been out of commission since the end of July, Pat? So, that one desperately needs to be replaced. We're looking at getting one of our bucket trucks replaced. Right now, we have 2. Our newest one was bought in 2012. It seems to be working pretty good with some repairs and everything that have been done. But we ended up buying one from the BPU, one of their old trucks, about 4 years ago now. And it's starting to get to a point with that where we're gonna be putting more money into that truck to keep it operating than what it's worth. So we just were able to pass a dielectric test in our inspections with it, but I don't know how much longer we'll be able to keep that one in service. Like Pat just told you, we're looking 2 years out on truck replacement. When I was speaking with Alltech the other day, we're at least 2.5 years, even if we decide to call them up today and order the truck. So we're looking to acquire a mini excavator to replace a 1974 trencher that we have in the department. Really not much use for it, because every time we try to do something, we gotta put money into this thing to even get it to turn over. Mini excavator, I think, would be a lot easier and mobile for us to use. We're not like Jeff's guys that are usually right in the street, not on a flat surface, solid surface when we're doing repairs in our parks. We're going through the parks themselves, grasses, backyards, city right-of-ways, things like that. So to have a nice smaller track vehicle would be really beneficial to the department. We've got a couple things that we're not looking at getting proposed right now, but they're also in there, is both of our loaders are 2008. So they're getting up there in age. They get used anywhere from doing tree work, landscaping, to plowing. We plow with our loaders as well. And then we have a few other trucks in the fleet that are getting older. 2003 Chevy pickup truck and 1996 Chevy 1-ton as well. So right there, the age alone, the amount of salt and everything, exposure, you can see that they're up there in years. Also, both of our bigger dump trucks. As you know, when we do tree work in the winter and even our landscaping in the summer, we're carrying heavy loads on everything that we carry. So those trucks take quite a workload on them, and they're getting up there in years as well. Any questions on our equipment? So then starting on page 137 and running through to, I think, 148, well, even beyond that, I threw in a bunch of them. I guess I went all the way to 161. Bunch of different capital projects that I think would be very beneficial to the city as a whole and help to strengthen our parks department. Over the last year and a half, 2 years with all the COVID going on, we've seen, and you've all seen, a big increase in the use in our parks and natural areas. We've always been able, and I thank you all for doing it, we've always been able to upkeep with our playgrounds pretty good and keep that facet going. But people are looking for different things to do now. You know, they're utilizing the Riverwalk, they're utilizing the bike trail, and different ways to get out and enjoy our parks. So a few of the projects that are proposed to be passed are Frisbee Golf up at Bergman Park. I think it'd be a fantastic addition to go through there. It's a great layout, and still have everything else going on in our park without any interference. The big project set for Bergman Park is a dog park. For the last 2 years, 3 years, we haven't been using Field 1. That's the first one as you come in the second entrance across from City View in Bergman. Figured that'd be a great location for a dog park. That way it's close to the sidewalk itself, so even on those nice winter days we have, it could still be accessible. You know, every once in a while we get spoiled and having December or January is not real bad, where technically the parks are closed, but you can still have access to the dog park there.
Dan, what was the cost of $250,000? How is that?
There's a lot of fluctuation in there. What happens is we're looking at maybe some shade structures with that. So again, with materials and everything going up, you can go anywhere from $30,000 to $130,000 for one shade canopy, right? So it's just a matter of what we're able to.
It's not something we pull out of the sky.
Yeah.
It sounds like 250, wow, that's a lot, but we actually did a pretty thorough estimate on it, just like a preliminary design and estimate. Between the fencing, all the amenities, I mean, there's toys, so it's almost like playground equipment for dogs, you've seen them. Benches, we looked at putting a walking path around the inside of it, so take your dog up there, you can be walking while your dog's out. I don't want to make it sound too elaborate, but
Basic cost alone, the fencing, you're looking probably between $60,000 and $75,000, depending on how big of an area we go through, and then what kind of enclosures we want, with that. Dog pot stations, garbage cans, benches, as you all know, those run quite expensive, and those prices have been creeping up all summer long, as well. You know, we're looking at $1,500 a dog pot station, you know, a couple hundred, $800 for garbage cans, same thing for benches, and then supplies for those. All depending on what ground material we decide to use, we're looking at something that's gonna be low maintenance for us, but yet be user-friendly there as well. So we're looking at a couple different aspects. We've knocked around a few different ideas, and then the amenities, you know, the play structures, the shade, things like that.
Water stations.
Yeah, water hookup, water stations, everything that gets involved. So
I wouldn't say it's too elaborate though.
It's basically taking half of the front field, putting it in fence, creating a nice usable material that'll be a lot less maintenance on us, and still be user-friendly. We're looking at a stone dust product that could be able to do that for us, but you're looking at a big area covering that. The other side of that, if we're able to use that, maybe we can eliminate the walking path that we're looking at putting in there. So we're looking at,
Got a couple options that we're playing with, but they all wind up falling right into that basic budget line.
If you had your choice between plow trucks and a dog park, which would you choose?
Says Councilman Russell, who I know has dogs in his house. I love dogs too. But, I mean, if you put it that way, public safety would come first.
Okay.
I'd have to agree, right? I'd take the $200,000 bucket truck over a dog park, and I've got a dog I love too. So,
I gotta say, I go to the Lakewood on a regular basis and meet lots of people in Jamestown who say, why don't we have one of these?
This isn't something we just dreamt up. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got a lot of people interested, requesting that kind of things.
you can probably go to Bergman Park right now, and there's a half a dozen people walking their dog.
They put them in the,
They put them in baseball fields, right? So then it becomes a maintenance issue for us.
if they don't clean it up.
Right, that's a big problem, you know, being able to keep after that and watch after that. We've looked at a possible even revenue source, to at least keep some of the maintenance costs down with that, right? I believe in Lakewood, that you have to have a permit for your dog to be in there, or some kind of licensing, that kind of thing. So we've looked at the licensing numbers of the dogs already in the city, figured that could increase, and then the fee would go along with that licensing process as well. So that maybe we wouldn't have to be paying for everything that goes into it to keep it maintained, as far as like the dog station bags and regular garbage bags and replacement of materials, things like that.
Just out of
Yeah, if
curiosity.
there's interest, we can try.
Those, is there like a maximum occupancy for the number of dogs that could be in there, is that, how does that work?
It's a recommended size, depending on what you think you're gonna have for a capacity of dogs. We're looking at an acre and a half is like the minimum of where to start. That's why we figured we'd use that front area, and be able to do most of the grading and startup work in-house, so.
Let me go back to playground. Remind me, we have to provide this, the 2019 actual was $23,000 and $23,092. I'm sure we're proposing $47,009. I know there's a minimum wage increase, but that's a pretty big jump.
Dan and I can follow up on that.
What page?
82.
And can we go back to the capital section? We also, there's a parks, apartment roof upgrade. Can we verify that we're not double dipping on 400,000, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Some of the other proposed projects outside, I know this one's outside of the roof project that Jeff had mentioned, was the stadium press box roof down at Leslie Dietrich Jr. Park. That, along with the walking pads that get you from the stairway to the press box itself. We were able to do some minor repairs just before the World Series this year, noticing some problems in the spring and early summer. But that definitely really needs attention too as well. And then there's a hot water tank in there. I believe this is probably the original hot water tank that's at the stadium. No kidding, all kidding aside, it's probably pretty close, right? For the last 12, 15 years, we've been saying it's going this year, it's going this year. And actually with less usage last year in the restrooms, caused more of a deterioration problem to the tank. There's no natural gas at the stadium, it's all run off electric, so it's a 3-phase electric hot water tank, commercial size, and that leads to the expense that comes with that one. It's gotten to the point that the caretaker down there, every day he's opening the door and having to mop around that area so the bottom doesn't rust out even farther than what it is. So. Nordstrom Park, looking at proposing a new playground there. Right now, we have a swing set there. Nordstrom Park is the home to our city rec baseball league that is run by the city of Jamestown. Very well attended, and just about any night during the week in the early summer, you'll see that whole park just packed with kids and families at the games. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, we had to take that one out. It was probably one of the older playgrounds we had left in the city, but structurally, we had to eliminate it. We were able to keep the swing set because we actually just put that one in probably about 6 years ago. So we should be good there with the swing set. It's just a matter of now getting back some playground equipment for there. Along with that, we've had some talks of trying to start some different programs in the city with the parks, and one of those is an adult kickball league. And we look at having Nordstrom Park probably be the home of one of the locations we're looking at to be able to play games at is right there. So again, increasing the amount of people that are coming into the park, would like to give them the amenities that go along with all of our other parks. Hand dryers, looking to replace all our paper products with electric hand dryers, and most if not all of our parks facilities. What we're finding, unfortunately, is a lot of vandalism and a lot of cost with paper products. They end up burning all the toilet paper, paper towels, which then in turn melts the plastic containers that they're in, and it becomes a regular, constant expense that we're always having. At least with the electric hand dryers, we're able to put cages around them, bolt them up a little bit better, and they seem to be more durable than what we're dealing with now. And again, cut down on waste and cost.
How about bidets?
Just a boat lady. Looking at increasing signage in our parks. Over the last 5 years, we've been able to add some real nice signage. Vets Park has some nice stuff, the boat landing. It all started at Allen Park 5 years ago with some nice signage there by the band shell. I can't tell you how many people have no idea where our maintenance garage is. Actually had to call 911 about a month ago for a situation, and they couldn't find where we were. So it'd be nice to be able to have signage. Had a lot of people this year come up to me in Bergman Park. We've got 3 different entrances into that park, and they don't know what entrance to go in that park. And it's not people that are new to the city, it's people that have lived in the city most of their life. So it'd be nice to be able to continue the theme that we have going on and increase and make us more visible as well. And then as you see with a bunch of the other projects that I have in there, but those are the ones that are proposed at this time going forward. But I think we can do quite a bit in our parks at a really low cost that can be beneficial to a lot of people that are using our parks now, or bring in additional people that aren't using our parks now. Volleyball courts, I think would be fantastic that, be able to get city leagues going, possible small revenue source with that as well, along with the kickball leagues. I'd like to see us resurface what we have for basketball courts now, get a citywide basketball league going in the summer. We have a lot of kids that play basketball from any age, from 6 on up to college, and even beyond, you know. You can go to the Y anytime during the winter, you hear the ball dribbling off the hardwood. You can go to our parks that have the basketball courts in them now, Bergman, Jackson, Taylor, Allen. They're out there playing basketball till the lights are gone, and sometimes still even by moonlight. So I think we need to improve those and look at actually creating an area more for that to be used as well. So, and I've got quite a few other projects. I think it runs 30 pages in there. If anybody has any questions either now or later, please feel free to get in touch with me.
Allen Park Archery,
What about the splash pad at Allen Park? Didn't we have a splash pad for Allen Park?
It's in there. Actually, we're looking, what I would like to see, right, you're probably not gonna see it in the book, is any of the bigger projects, I'd like to see in what I call our big 3 parks. Bergman, Allen, Jackson, Taylor. Right, those are our biggest land-wise, biggest usage parks that we have. Walking trails, there's kind of one connected now with the bike trail behind Jackson, Taylor. But I think we can incorporate more through the parks. Allen Park, I think, would be very beneficial for one. You get a lot of younger kid activities there, soccer fields, baseball games, football games. So the parents just don't have to sit in the car in the parking lot with the younger kids or go over and there's 50, 60 kids on the playground. Well, now you can walk around a path, kind of like a river walk. Same thing along through the back of Bergman. I think volleyball courts, I've seen a lot of interest and we see a lot of calls about getting horseshoes back together again. Right now, we currently have one. I think there's amenities that we can add in all of our parks, in the river walk included, where we can have tables and benches that have fixtures on them already. You know, you have the checkerboards on there, you have the chessboards on there, things like that. People see it in the bigger cities and really appreciate it, and I always call and ask, why don't we? Right? Why can't we have that as well? Splash pads, same thing. You know, I think Jackson Taylor would be a great place for that, especially with the new skate park coming up down the road from there. Allen Park was the original proposed site for one as well. I think that could work great. All 3 of our big ones, right? Those are the first 2 that come to mind. I think Bergman, with the additions we're looking to put in, what exists at Bergman now, I don't think you need 3. I think 2 would be beneficial. Playground that we're looking at is Willard Tot Lot, up off of Willard and Tower, right there. That's a project that's been talked about for a while. Our bigger playgrounds that we work on, they're close to a $500,000 project when everything's said and done. With purchasing material and getting everything in place and going from there. So that's one that's also mentioned in the book. Bergman Park Playground is going on 25 years. So life expectancy out of these playgrounds are 25, 30 years. We've already removed a couple pieces out of the Bergman Park Playground. For the most part, the playground itself is in good condition. We've had to remove some outside pieces that go with it. But that's another thing to put on your radar as well. You know, I go around to different cities all the time with my kids. My daughter's grown now, but still me and my boy. And there's not playgrounds like we have everywhere. It just doesn't happen. Our community has one. We've got some really crown jewels out there. You know, the one at Bergman, the one at Allen, the one we just built a few years ago at Jackson Taylor, and even in some of our smaller parks. You know, Johnson Street Park, there's a great one. Dow Park, right in the downtown area, that's used all day long by the after-school programs and by the younger groups, with the YWCA and YMCA, with the caretaking they have there, and the people that go to the library itself. So, I could just keep going on, but
good, but there's a football.
Yes.
Brian, I would like to see a separate line item for, department for the pink quality in the budget versus the city rec.
Sure.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Dan? Jeff? Any hat? Okay,
So, just real quick, when you guys talk about these, trucks and things that you're trying to order, and they're 2 and 3 years out, or however long, so are you confident that the stuff you have is gonna make it to the new ones come, or just out of curiosity?
Not all.
No, I'd say not everything.
So, even though you're saying you need one, it could be 2 years, and then we have to figure out what to do, or what we would do.
Something
in
that-
the time.
Yeah, I mean, this one that we're just ordering is just there to stop the bleeding in a sense, because we didn't expect this. I mean, we knew it was
Well,
old.
we did expect it, to be
Right.
fair, we did expect it, we've been asking for it for years, but, and I'm not complaining, but we've never been in a position now where we could always get something, you know? And we kinda ran it that way, till I'll tell you that. Crisis came, we pulled it out of contingency, we could have a truck here in 3 months.
Right,
But times have changed right now, so
and that's only gonna get more difficult.
we gotta play the game a little bit different, I guess, is our warning.
Supply and demand comes into play too, right? We're not the only municipality that's getting relief act funds. So they're gonna be looking at doing the same kind of things, and replacing some equipment. Like I just said, the water truck we use, that won't be driven again. I think next time it's gonna be driven is probably towed to auction or to the salvage yard. You know, so we have pieces of equipment like that already that are taking up space in our garages. But the longer we wait, the longer that wait time's gonna be, and I think you're gonna hear that from any of the city departments that's looking for materials, right? Things are getting harder and harder to come by, and prices are going up and up and up as the days go on.
Could I just say thank you, and thank you to the mechanics. I'm looking at a 1974 New Holland excavator. You gotta go from working on that to something that's 5 years old. That's unbelievable. I don't know how the mechanics do it.
They do a fantastic
Yeah.
job. They really do. Very talented. Some days it's just waving a magic wand.
Yeah.
They get all their stuff going one way or another.
Yeah.
Councilman Nelson, and like you say, it's anything from us dropping off a weed eater to Matt dropping off a fire truck these guys are working on
Yeah.
all day long, so.
It's impressive.
Thank you.
Chief, over to you.
Okay, the biggest issue for the police department by far, aside from manpower, are the vehicles. I passed out the current patrol car inventory. And you'll see the cars labeled from J1 through J9 are the frontline vehicles. Those are the frontline cars that are pretty much used every day of the week. And some of the mileage, 162,000, 131, 125, 91, and so on. The cars aren't gonna last much longer. That's a fact. Thankfully, it was included this year that we are getting one new vehicle. And that is the first time since 2011 that the city has bought a vehicle. Previously, we were buying it from asset forfeiture. Asset forfeiture, we can't count on that money. Right now, the amount of asset forfeiture we have in our DWI will buy one car. So even if we wanted to, we will not be able to buy any more cars than that. Aside from the vehicles, the next important thing is the range. Our range is at least, and I'm sorry, that's on page
169.
169. Our range is at least 30 years old. I think the estimates are closer to 40. It's beyond its useful life. The console is broke. The traps are getting old, or they are old, I should say. To turn the targets, we can't do that anymore, and it leaks. The range is, we can't do anything more with it. We can't buy new parts for it. It's as long as it's gonna make it.
Is the 190 an accurate estimate?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
including all those things you just addressed.
yes. The 190 was the estimate that I got in the spring of this year.
Okay.
Is it common for a police department to have an on-premise range?
It is for bigger departments, such as ours, when we used to have a bigger department. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Is that for you to be able to possibly even utilize it through shared services or rent it out to other police agencies who may be able to make some revenue off of it?
We used to use the academy for our local, we used to use our range for our local police academy, so it is a possibility.
That's what I was, okay.
Chief, what is, used for, obviously shooting, but, can you explain how often it's used, when it's used?
It's used at least, I'm gonna say, depending on our training schedule, it could be 2 to 3 times a year to qualify, which we must qualify. In the winter months, the fall months, we use our indoor range. It's also used for any in-service training we do. And it's also used by our officers whenever they want.
Does the SWAT team use your range? And they train on a regular basis, every month, correct?
Yes,
But not necessarily utilizing this range.
yes.
Does this range, in the condition that it's in now, does it ever get looked at by OSHA or any outside? I mean, you're talking about lead and
I know it was.
hazards like that.
I know it was years ago, but I think it was actually looked at before I started at the police department, so. So those are our biggest concerns. The radios were included in the budget, which is, I mean, that is awesome. We have to have portable radios. The virtual training, virtual reality training, that would be nice to have, but it's not a necessity like patrol cars in the range are. The patrol cars need to have the range, or the reality training is nice to have. Gotta have patrol cars to do the job.
Could the reality training, I know it's been a hot button topic in the last year or two, where officers have been involved in deadly force encounters, shoot, no shoot decisions.
Yes, and de-escalation, which is another topic.
So obviously that's been a hot button topic, and that virtual reality training could be used for that.
Yes, it's not just force, use of force scenarios, that could be talking to someone. It's a multitude of training objectives.
So that type of training could possibly avert a deadly force encounter that would cause the city to potentially be liable.
Yes,
That reality training equipment be used by other agencies, rented out per se with a fee to the instructor and generate revenue.
yes, because it's mobile, and that's another good thing about this training platform, is that it's not just stuck at JPD, we can move it.
Could it possibly substitute a live range, say once a year, and therefore you wouldn't have to purchase as much ammunition that you normally would, and you would save funds in that respect?
It certainly could, but I'd like to add it. The more training, the better, but it definitely could.
Almost seems like that might be a better way to spend the money than the range itself, but.
state demands that we shoot live fire. So,
Are there any other ranges nearby that can be used?
there are no indoor ranges that are
Have other municipalities, a similar interest with the virtual, are they familiar with that, the virtual reality?
not in our county,
They're not even.
not in our area.
They haven't- they don't have anything they would like, they would use, it would be something that they would use.
Chief, you have on here Glock trains.
Mhm.
What's the caliber of the Glock that you guys carry now?
40 caliber,
And you wanna go to a 9mm, correct?
correct.
Smaller round, faster round,
Yes, easier to handle, it's cheaper on ammunition.
and are the other agencies around here going to the 9mm handgun, is that correct?
Yes,
What agencies are those?
the sheriff's office, Chautauqua County.
And are they going, they currently carry 45 calibers?
I believe so, or they're in the process of actually transitioning.
And they're transitioning for the same